Prepare to journey into the macabre, where reality blurs with nightmares. This is the Paramurder Cast, where the unseen becomes the unforgettable. Now to your hosts, Dave, Daniel, and CJ. Let the horrors begin.
Welcome to the Paramurder Cast. This is episode 9, part 2 of the Toolbox Killers. I'm your host, Daniel.
I'm CJ.
And I'm David. Be sure to visit our website at paramurdercast.com for everything paramurder. You'll find our link to our merch store where we're releasing new designs all the time. So be sure to check it out and snag something awesome.
For a quick recap of last week, we went over the Toolbox Killers crimes. Lauren, Sigmund, Bittaker, and Roy Norris. These horrible motherfuckers raped and killed 5 women within 5 months. They were in and out of prison for the majority of their early lives. Now we're going to go over covering the investigation, the trial, just the rest of the story there. So if you don't remember, go listen to the other one again and get refreshed before coming back, or if you feel that was sufficient, let's move on and get to it. In November 1979, Norris became reacquainted with a friend named Joseph Jackson, an individual with whom he had previously been incarcerated at California Men's Colony. Norris confided in Jackson regarding his and Bittaker's exploits over the previous 5 months, including graphic details of the murder of Shirley Ledford, the only victim whose body had been found at this time. Norris also divulged to Jackson that, in addition to the 5 murders he and Bittaker had committed, there had been 3 additional incidents in which he and Bittaker had abducted or attempted to abduct young women who had either escaped their attackers or, in one instance, had actually been raped but released. Upon hearing Norris's confessions, Jackson consulted his attorney, who advised him to inform authorities. Jackson agreed, and he and his attorney informed the Los Angeles Police Department, who in turn relayed the 2 men to the Hermosa Beach Police. A Hermosa Beach detective named Paul Bynum was assigned to investigate Jackson's claim as to Norris's confessions of the murders, attempted abductions, and rapes that he had confided to Jackson had occurred between June and October. Bynum initially noted that Jackson's statements as to Norris's confessions did match reports on file of several teenage girls who had been reported missing over the previous 5 months. In addition, the incident Norris had confided to Jackson where he claimed he and Bittaker had sprayed mace in the face of a woman who had then been dragged into Bittaker's van and raped by both men matched a report filed in relation to an incident that occurred on September 30th. In this file report, a young woman named Robin Robeck had been sprayed in her face with mace before being dragged into a van and raped by 2 Caucasian men in their mid-30s before being released. Although Robeck had reported the abduction and rape to the police, they had been unable to identify her assailants. Bynum dispatched an investigator to visit Robeck at her residence in Oregon to show her a series of mugshots. Without hesitation, Robeck positively identified 2 photos presented to her as those of the men who had kidnapped and raped her on September 30th. The 2 individuals she identified were, in fact, Bittaker and Norris. More crimes that we didn't even go over in the first place.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
They weren't the murders. Yeah, I get that, but still gotta hear about these 2 motherfuckers doing horrible fucking shit.
Yeah, it's just, at least it's finally the downfall of them, right? They made the mistake of letting a girl live. I mean, it's really like a twofold, right? We talked about it on part 1, which is they switched their MO. Instead of taking them out to the cliffside and throwing them out over the cliff and raping them out in that mountain range, they switched it up and threw their last victim on somebody's random lawn.
Yeah, that's one way to do it, man. I guess they just tired of doing all the work. They wanted a half day. They said, if we just open the door, they just run off. Job's done.
They talk about it a lot when it comes to serial killers, but they all have that frenzy period. like all the serial killers, they slowly build up, right? They get this MO and they start killing people and they follow it to a routine. And that's what keeps them protected. But slowly over time, they ramp up. And then in most cases, they go into like a frenzy where they're not able to please that inner need to kill.
Yeah, they're not getting that dopamine.
Yeah.
You know? They're just chasing that dragon.
Yeah. So they go out and they go in a frenzy period. You see it a lot in people, especially like Ted Bundy, when he took off down to Florida and escaped to Florida. And then
just need more and more risk or more and more violence or something.
Instead of like following his normal routine, he just like grabbed a log and went to the sorority house and just killed multiple women at one time, just in a frenzy. And there's multiple serial killers who do that. So I wonder if Bittaker and Norris were kind of moving towards a frenzy because they went from having that MO going to that mountain range. And then just all of a sudden they were just yanking women in the car and doing it out in public and throwing bodies out on lawns and stuff. So I wonder if they were going to have that.
Maybe, you know, just got overconfident and they just kept getting away with it. So, you know, maybe they thought they were trying too hard with all the throwing the bodies off the cliff. When in reality, that's like the only thing that was probably, you know, because this is like before a lot of forensics and everything, you know, we're talking like back in the 80s and stuff when it was a lot harder back then, I think.
I hate reading like serial killers prior to nowadays.
Yeah.
Because you listen to what they do and you're like, oh, here's 900 things they did during their murdering spree. And 800 of them would have gotten them caught the next day in our era.
Yep. Yeah, because back then you'd look at a bloody hammer and be like, that's probably blood. Maybe this is a murder weapon. Who knows? But nowadays, dude, you see a bloody hammer, you can find everybody who touched it, who bled on it, who sneezed on it, who manufactured it.
And I know the creation of, what's the fingerprint database? We didn't have it at...
I know there's a fancy...
That's not APHIS, is it?
It's NORAD.
No, it's definitely not NORAD.
It's the IRA.
Nowadays, it's called the NGI, or Next Generation Identification, and that's the fingerprint database that the FBI use.
Well, what was it called?
It was previously called the Integrated Automated Fingerprint Identification System, or APHIS. So, it was previously APHIS. So now it's NGI. But I mean, if you touch anything in a house nowadays and you have a previous record like Bittaker and Norris did, it wouldn't have been 5 minutes. They would have already had you on the news, been out looking for you nowadays. And it wouldn't even probably got to the murders. You know, he grabbed that woman's scarf and choked her with it in that first rape. I mean, they wouldn't even got out of prison, let's be honest, nowadays, after their first 30 crimes they did anyway. They'd have been serving life because they were in California with 3 strike rules now. So it's terrible listening, like I said, to old serial killers and just thinking how quick they would be caught nowadays. Which is a good thing because how often do we now see something about a serial killer in our era?
Yeah, you're not going to get away with it these days. Everybody's got cameras in their pockets.
I don't think we really see anything about serial killers anymore. It's more terrorists nowadays.
Yeah, well,
just terrorists.
Spree killing is like a big thing because people know they're going to get caught.
And school shootings.
Yeah.
Spree killings.
Yeah, spree killings. They do say that still, I think if you go look up like the FBI's opinion on it, that there are like 19 to 20 active serial killers across the United States currently. That's their guess.
The last one I heard, who's that man? He tried to kill those, or he didn't. He successfully killed those girls. I think it was in Oregon, those college girls. He went in there with like a buck knife because he wanted to be like a serial killer or whatever, and he slashed them all up and made off in the night, and he would have got away with it, but they got just like a fingerprint on a button snap of a knife sheath he left behind, and it all unraveled from there.
They think there's one in Ohio right now. Have you followed that at all?
The Butler County Strangler?
I mean, there's talks of it being like Butler County Strangler.
Is it really?
Yes.
No,
yes.
I haven't heard.
No, but it's the truth. So there's been like 3 girls in Middletown in our area that have went missing, and then their bodies were found. They found out.
Oh yeah, we do have a problem of finding women in the garbage can, don't we?
Well,
women in the garbage.
That girl that you're talking about, they found her killer. But there's like 3 girls prior to her that are missing. They found that one girl.
People have been going missing a lot.
Yeah, they found that one girl in Madison Township. They found her in like a farmer's piece of land, and she was killed. They have no idea who did it. But then if you look around the rest of Ohio, there's like 4 or 5 missing in like the Toledo area. There's some missing in like the Cleveland area. There's some missing in Columbus. So there's just like this chain of women missing, pretty much in just like a northerly line running through Ohio. And there's just multiple women that they've found them passed away or haven't found their body. And so there is a bunch of talks. Actually, there's a podcast that I listened to that I think it was Jensen and Hobbs. I believe they stopped recording now, but one of the guys was an ex-FBI agent. That's what he did. And they actually went over, is there an active serial killer in Ohio? And at least by his opinion, because he was ex-FBI, he said that it did look like all the correct identifiers of an active serial killer being in Ohio. So maybe in our lifetime we will have a guy that gets caught.
Well, we have guys that get caught for murder all the time.
Yeah, but like I said, it's spree killing or murder. I can't remember the last time I've seen like an actual straight up serial killer. I know there are some that have been caught during our lifetime, but it's been...
They're not cool yet.
The 2000s and earlier, really.
Well, I just hope that the ones that are active now just get caught, and then there are never any more that need to be caught after that.
Hey, random question. Are these pieces of shit dead yet?
These ones? Yes. The toolbox killers, they're dead.
Yeah.
They're both dead.
Bittaker and Norris are both dead.
Nerds. I hope it sucked. I hope it was slow and painful.
Well, let's find out. Upon linking Bittaker and Norris to the rape of Robin Roebuck, the Hermosa Beach police placed Norris under surveillance. Within days, they had observed his dealings in marijuana. On November 20th, 1979, Norris was arrested by the Hermosa Beach police for parole violation. The same day, at the Burbank Motel where he resided, Bittaker was arrested for the rape of Robin Roebuck. Although Roebuck had identified mugshots of Bittaker and Norris, she was unable to positively identify her attackers in a police lineup. Nonetheless, police had observed Norris dealing in marijuana, whereas Bittaker had been in possession of drugs at the time of his arrest. Both were held on charges of parole violation. A search of Bittaker's apartment revealed several Polaroid photographs which were determined as depicting Hall and Gilliam, both of whom had been reported as missing earlier the same year. Inside Bittaker's van, investigators discovered a sledgehammer, a plastic bag filled with lead weights, a book detailing how to locate police radio frequencies, a jar of Vaseline, 2 necklaces, later confirmed as belonging to 2 of the victims, and a tape recording of a young woman in obvious distress, screaming and repeatedly pleading for mercy while being tortured and sexually abused. The mother of Ledford, named by Jackson as being one of the girls whom Norris had confessed he and Bittaker had killed, identified the voice on the tape as being that of her only daughter. The voices of the 2 men mocking and threatening Ledford in the process of her torture and abuse were identified as being Roy Norris and Lawrence Bittaker. Also found in Bittaker's motel were 7 bottles of various acidic materials. Investigators would later discover Bittaker planned to use these acidic materials upon their next victim. Inside Norris's apartment, police discovered a bracelet he had taken from Ledford's body as a souvenir. Also found at the homes of both Bittaker and Norris were Polaroid pictures of almost 500 teenage girls and young women, most of which had apparently been taken at Redondo Beach and Hermosa Beach, with others taken by Bittaker at Burbank High School. Most of these pictures had been taken without the girls' knowledge or consent. They was going to use acid.
Yeah, on the next victim.
I'm just glad they had all this evidence against themselves in a time where that stuff was kind of critical.
Could you imagine, like I said, there for a minute, they were on a roll that would have allowed them to kill for a long time. But the Polaroid pictures, that screwed them. It's hard to look at that shit, man. Could you imagine being a parent and they come in and the way they ask you to identify if this is your daughter?
Is this your child being tortured to death and begging for their life that we
tape?
Found an audio recording of?
Man, I would 100% be like that. You ever seen the video of the father where his son was raped multiple times by that karate student?
Yeah.
And he goes, and as they're walking him out of court, he's pretending to be on a payphone.
Popped him right in the head. Clean shot, too, dude. Right from under the arm. Fucking pow! Right in the head.
Turns around, shoots him right in the head.
Everybody knew immediately who it was, too.
And just raises his hands.
They were all shouting his name like, no!
That would be me, man. 100%.
Have you seen that, CJ?
Yeah, I've also seen the video where the mother of the girl who was raped and murdered walked into court.
The Russian mother.
And just pulls a gun and just starts firing on the dude.
Just dumped an entire magazine.
Yeah, I've seen that one too. That's justice, man. I'm sorry. Like I said, most of the time I want them to be dropped in a hole and left to die. But when there's stuff like that, like when you go and play that to a parent, now you're just asking for it. Now you're giving that parent the ammo that I feel like, whatever happens, happens now. Yeah, they come play that shit with me for one of my kids, man. It's war, dude.
Oh, we'll get them.
I'll turn into a fucking American sniper over here, but they won't be making it through court and to prison, that's for sure.
I'll be the decoy. I'll charge them first in the courtroom, and all the bailiffs will drag me
Pull
out.
out
You'll have your open shot, dude. They'll taste the shit out of me and drag me out.
Pull out the gun that's carved
You'll
in
just
soap.
be wide open, dude. You'll be wide open after they drag me out of there.
Yeah, it'll just be a fucking soap bar gun. You'll pull it out and it'll look real, and they'll fucking arrest you.
No, I'll rush them. Try to dive over the stand and get them.
Oh, yeah.
And then all the bailiffs fucking tase the shit out of me and drag me out of there. Ain't nobody gonna be left.
It's like that family that beat that dude up in court. Did you ever see that?
I've seen a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of them.
Well, there's one specifically where they get to him, and it's almost because of, like you said, I think like the dad rushes him, and the bailiffs and everybody are like busy apprehending the dad, and then it's like the fucking uncle or something just comes running from the side, like, boom, dude, and just knocks him the fuck out. And then it's like they grab him and throw him to the ground. And, like, the mom runs over there and just, like, football punts him in the face. And I'm like, whoa, man. You think they would just, like, have a bailiff at this point stand up and be, like, playing lineman between this family because they're just one at a time running over there. And the bailiffs are just like, what do we do? The whole family. And the judge is up there like, contempt of court. And he's, like, trying to get everybody to stop. So, it is what it is, man. You get served up justice sometimes. I couldn't imagine them coming in and just hitting play on a tape. And you have to listen to your daughter scream and beg.
That has to be traumatizing. Probably one of the worst things a person could go through.
If you don't get to take vengeance out, so you guys aren't parents yet, but it's like, I don't know if I could live. I don't know if I could live after that. That might be something that, like, I'm never a person that's ever thought suicidal tendencies, but if I had to listen to my child beg like that, I don't know if I could function after it. I would definitely be committed, at minimum. I don't know if I could ever recover from that.
I don't blame you. That's rough. It's rough to even read or hear about it.
It's hard enough to have your child be murdered, but then for them to come and sit down with a tape, that's where it goes over the top. Here's this tape. Can you identify this as your daughter screaming?
Yeah, we need to know it's your daughter screaming so we can put these guys through trial and stuff. We'll take care of the justice part, but you just get to listen to your kid being tortured.
Yeah.
We've only let them out of jail a few times.
All right, let's get into this confession. On November 30th, 1979, Norris attended a preliminary hearing in relation to the September 30th rape. By this stage, Norris was beginning to display visible signs of stress. At the hearing, Norris waived his Miranda rights before Detective Bynum and Deputy District Attorney Stephen Kay began questioning him, initially in the relation to the rape of Robin Roebuck. Then, in relation to the statements given to police by Joseph Jackson and the evidence recovered from his and Bittaker's residences. Initially, Norris flatly denied any involvement in any murders, rapes, or disappearances. However, when confronted with the evidence investigators had compiled, Norris began to confess. Although he did attempt to portray Bittaker as being more culpable in the murders than himself, in what Bynum and Kay later described as a casual, unconcerned manner, Norris divulged that he and Bittaker had been in the habit of driving around areas such as the Pacific Coast Highway and randomly approaching girls whom they found attractive with offers of a ride, posing with the pair for photographs or marijuana. Most of those whom they approached rejected whatever given ruse Bittaker and Norris used to entice them into the van, although 4 girls had accepted lifts from the pair and had been murdered with a 5th victim, their first being grabbed by force. Inside the van, the girls would typically be overpowered, bound hand and foot, gagged, and driven to locations deep within the San Gabriel Mountains, where they would be sexually assaulted by both men, then usually killed by strangulation with a wire coat hanger, although 2 of the victims had had ice picks driven into their ears before being strangled. Norris had admitted to bludgeoning their youngest victim, Lamp, about the head with a sledgehammer as Bittaker strangled her. and admitted to repeatedly striking Shirley Ledford upon the elbow with a sledgehammer before strangling her to death. The bottles of acid found at Bittaker's motel, Norris stated, were intended for use upon the next victim they abducted, as the acts of torture and humiliation had been committed against their victims for fun. Norris agreed to return to the San Gabriel Mountains to search for the bodies of the girls whose abduction and murder he had confessed to assisting in. In each instance, Norris brought detectives to the area where he and Bittaker had disposed of the victims' bodies. Despite extensive searches of the areas where he stated the bodies of Schaefer and Hall had been dispatched, their bodies were never found. On February 9th, 1980, the skeletonized bodies of Lamp and Gilliam were found at the bottom of a canyon, alongside a dry riverbed. The bodies were scattered over an area measuring hundreds of feet in diameter. An ice pick was still lodged in the skull of Gilliam. The skull of Lamp bore multiple indentations, evidence of the numerous hammer blows Norris had stated he inflicted. In February 1980, Norris and Bittaker were formally charged with the murders of the 5 girls. At the arraignment, Bittaker was denied bail, whereas Norris's bail was set for $10,000. Within 1 month of being charged with murder, Norris had accepted a plea bargain in which he would testify against Bittaker in return for the prosecution agreeing not to seek the death penalty against him.
They always flip.
What a fucking rat.
Oh,
They were both pussies.
yeah. I'm glad he snitched because of the fact they were able to recover some bodies to bury for the parents.
No. That's not the ratty part. I'm like, good on that. But you were in this just as much as Bittaker.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be like, oh, he was the fucking guy driving it. Nah, you're a fucking piece of shit. That was completely your decision as well.
Well, I think we've already agreed. They both fed into each other really well, right? Like Bittaker.
Well, from what we read, Norris was the worst one.
Yeah, Norris was into rape, right? Bittaker was into violence. And then you mixed them together, and it was the perfect concoction for Bittaker now finding out he liked the rape, and Norris getting the courage to kill. So it's one of those perfect storm situations, man. I don't know. I'm glad he testified against him because he pretty much hung Bittaker to dry. So, but at the same time, they both should have been sentenced to death.
Absolutely. I agree. A very unique death. They should have put ice picks in both of their ears and beat them upon the head with a sledgehammer.
They already had so much evidence of Bittaker. Like, why would they need more evidence? Like, there's photos, there's tape recordings. There's enough to fucking get the death penalty on him right there. At least I would think so.
Yeah, I think when it comes to prosecution, I'm not a lawyer, but I think their job is to, without a shadow of a doubt, prove guilt, right? They don't want to leave any opening for anything in court. If they know that they can go in with like 100% guarantee versus 98%, they're going to take the 100%. So if they're able to get Norris to flip and go in court and go, we did murder him and he did the majority of it. He was with him, he admitted to it. That's like that 100% guarantee. And then he hangs himself at the same time because he takes the plea deal, right? So he signs papers saying, I did do this, I'll serve life in prison.
When you put it like that, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's their job. I think it's just supposed to be 100% guarantee. No chance for a defense attorney to come in and cause any shadows of a doubt. I think that's the perfect case in their opinion. Because you see it in everything, right? I mean, that's even still done today. If you commit, if we all three committed a crime together, they would try to flip one of us. And that's all they need. You never see them offer 2. You never see them offer 3. They usually just offer one person, first one to just point fingers and give the guaranteed, win for the prosecution. And then they'll have the other one sign.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know these two guys.
Listen, man, I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, and I will follow this same thing throughout our podcast. Don't talk to the police. I don't even care if you committed a crime. Don't talk to the police. I've listened to too many true crime podcasts to tell you that there is never anything good that comes from talking to the police, whether you're guilty or not guilty. Because we're going to get to some true crime cases later on where the person is not guilty and they are hung to dry by police officers.
Yeah, talk to your lawyer. Have your lawyer talk to the
Exactly.
police.
The minute you're arrested, I don't care if you're guilty or not guilty or what your crime is. I don't care if it's you busted somebody's window all the way to you murdered somebody. As soon as you get a police officer that takes you into an interrogation room, request your lawyer and shut the fuck up.
Because the other part is if you say something on accident and they catch it, they're going to use it. If your lawyer says something on accident, judge, that's covered by attorney-client privilege.
Exactly. I mean, they're just not there to help you. That's not their job. If they take you into an interrogation room and go, hey man, we're friends, can we talk? They're lying to you. Their job is not to help you, period. Point blank, period. They're not there to be your friends. If they're pretending to be your friend, that is exactly what they're doing. They're pretending. Request your lawyer and shut your mouth.
Pretend you're going to talk to them, let them get you a soda pop and a candy bar, thank them, and then request your lawyer.
Yep.
And then eat your candy bar. Have you seen the guy that did that? Like, I think he was already a prisoner or something like that. Like, he went, like, real viral.
Like pretended to let him get everything.
Like he was like, they were like, yeah, come on in, man. We're going to talk. He's like, yeah, I'm ready to talk, man. Yeah, that's fine. And he sits down. He's like, I want a pop. I want a cigarette. And I want a candy bar. And he eats it all. And he's like, I'm not fucking talking to you guys. Take me back to my cell. I'm not telling you shit. And it ended up going super viral.
Was it? There's these lawyers on YouTube. I can't remember what that was, but they had like, it was, today, shut the fuck up Friday. Shut the fuck up. Don't talk. Call your lawyer.
That's what it should
it's like
be.
Most lawyers on YouTube will tell you don't talk to the cops.
Do you know how many times I've seen like legitimate killers that would have walked free had they just walked in and went, I would like my lawyer present, please. And I mean, I don't agree that the killer should be let free, but I'm just saying it happens in the smallest cases around the U.S. every year. Just you're not guilty of breaking a window, or you're not guilty of accidentally bumping this person's car, but you go in and you talk thinking that they have the best intentions to solve that crime for you, and they don't. Get a lawyer, shut your mouth. I always think of Dave Chappelle, dude.
Definitely.
I plead the fifth.
Also,
F-I-F-E, fifth.
If you are innocent, you definitely don't want to talk to the police because they might use something you say to twist it, and boom, you're done. And guess what? Real killer's walking away.
Yep. Like I said, dude, we're going to cover cases. There's some out there that piss me off. I'm trying to think of this autistic boy. He had autism, and they scared him to death to the point to where they were like, you did this. And because he's autistic, he started wondering like, oh man, I do have days where I can't remember things. Maybe, did I do this? And then he's like in there crying like, I don't know, you guys said I did this, so I must have done this, because he's trusting, because he's, he doesn't have anybody there to represent him. So he police to him were always like the person in power, and he believed everything they said. So them going, you did this, he was just like, I guess I did this. I don't know what I did. I'm so sorry. And they fucking charge him with it. He serves like multiple years in jail just for them to fucking find the killer.
Yeah. They'll interrogate the shit out of you. Have you seen the guy, I believe it was a man and his girlfriend, and there was a home invasion. The girlfriend was shot to death. The man was shot in the head, but I believe it was a .22, so he had like real bad brain damage. And bro just like, I guess like was knocked out. And the cops show up, they do a welfare check, and they start trying to they think he killed his girlfriend. He's got a black eye because he got shot right here in his eye, like right where your inner eye and your nose is, into his brain. And they were sat there and grilled him for hours trying to convince him or say that he fucking murdered his girlfriend.
I know,
like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was just asleep. She's asleep. We were sleeping. And they're like, no,
ended
she's
up
dead.
being like the friend and the other girl or whatever that was at the house.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. He's like in the chair, like curled up, like, I'm really tired.
Yeah.
I have a headache.
Yeah, I have a headache. I'm tired. She's sleeping. I'm sleeping.
Yeah, they end up taking him to a hospital after.
And they're like, what is it? Did you get shot in the head? He's like, I don't know. And they're like,
yeah, but they end up taking him to the hospital after like 4 or 5 hours of interrogation to walk him in there and be like, he keeps claiming that he thinks he was shot too, but obviously look at him. There's no blood. There's no nothing. And the doctor walks in, does an x-ray, and comes out like, yeah, he's got a bullet lodged in his head. It went in at like a perfect angle, and since it's 22, it basically almost just went through his tear duct.
Yeah.
And it was lodged in his brain. And so the whole time he was in there telling the cop, like, I have a headache. I don't feel good. I'm tired. He was sitting there with a gunshot wound to the brain, and they interrogated him. I mean, dude, if that kid wouldn't have kept, like, nodding and stuff, they would have interrogated him until he died. 100%. They never will let him go. Cops they're not there for your best interest. So you can be mad at me all you want if you're a podcast listener, but my advice to you is always going to be shut your mouth and request a lawyer.
I would even go so as far, unless you actively see somebody pull somebody else into like a van or something. If you got like, I've got a tip for the police, I'd be like, hey, lawyer, this is the tip I plan on giving to the police regarding this thing that I just witnessed.
Oh, hell no, dude. I'm calling the police if I see somebody get snatched in a van.
No. If I see somebody get snatched in the van, I'm definitely calling the police.
Well, there's times to talk to. There's times when the police are your friend, and that's when you need them in an emergency.
I think, if you've got something that's not like super time sensitive, and be like, well, maybe, I should ask my lawyer to run this to the police. I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying. Like, if you've seen something and you're like, damn.
Well, what were you doing at this person's property on that day? I was out for a fucking walk.
Everybody knows the right thing to do, and that's to take justice into your own hands.
I'm Batman.
Justice. Where are they? Where is she?
No, I definitely get you. Yeah, lawyers. That's the Paramurder Cast way for all of you listeners right there. Get a lawyer. Don't care what you did. Get a lawyer. Don't talk to the cops.
Don't care what you didn't do.
Yep.
Call a lawyer.
Yep. No matter what your circumstance is, if you're dealing with police officers, get a lawyer.
If you found yourself handcuffed in the back of a cruiser, call a lawyer.
Or call me. I'll pretend to be a lawyer.
Yeah, call us. We'll call a lawyer for you.
If they show up to your house, don't let them in. Call a lawyer.
Unless they have a warrant.
Unless they have a warrant.
Then
if they have a warrant, go out the back door.
If they have a warrant, call a lawyer.
Yeah, walk out back and call a lawyer. Hopefully we drove that home for you.
You know what you should drive home? Your lawyer.
Shout out to all these lawyers out there.
Show up.
If you're a lawyer and you'd like to speak on the show and you're a listener, please give me an email. Just email in. I will 100% let you get on and give your spiel of why you should call a fucking lawyer and shut your mouth.
He's probably going to charge us for that. I'm not paying for a lawyer to come in here.
Yeah, I'm not paying you. If you would like to get on, though, you can definitely shout yourself out. You're a law firm. I don't care.
If you've got a better way of explaining everything that we just did, send us an email and then we'll read it.
Yeah.
And be like, hey,
call a fucking lawyer.
Maybe call this lawyer. I don't know. Anyway, let's enter into this guilty plea. On March 18th, 1980, Norris pleaded guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of second-degree murder in relation to Hall, 2 counts of rape, and 1 count of robbery. Formal sentencing was postponed until May 7th. In return for Norris agreeing to plead guilty and to testify against Bittaker, prosecutors had agreed to seek neither death penalty nor life without parole at the upcoming sentencing hearing. Prior to his May 7th sentencing, Norris was reviewed by a probation officer who testified at his sentencing that Norris had again accused Bittaker of the actual torture of the victims, and that for Norris himself, the feeling of power and the dominance he had over the victims was the main overriding factor, as opposed to having sexual intercourse with them. On May 7th, 1980, Norris was sentenced to 45 years to life imprisonment with eligibility for parole from 2010. On April 24th, 1980, Bittaker was arraigned on 29 charges of kidnapping, rape, sodomy, and murder, in addition to various charges of criminal conspiracy and possession of a firearm. He was also charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to commit murder dating from December 1979, in which he had unsuccessfully attempted to persuade 2 inmates who were due to be released to murder Robin Robeck in order to prevent her from testifying against him at his upcoming trial. The charges for rape of Robin Robeck would later be dropped because of the lack of physical evidence as well as Robeck's failing to identify her attackers in a lineup. When asked by Judge William Hollingsworth as to how he pleaded, Bittaker remained silent, refusing to answer any questions. In response, the judge entered a plea of not guilty on his behalf. I mean, Bittaker kind of had the right idea there, except that was a judge, not the cops.
Yeah. I mean, in that case, he should have just told his lawyer he was going to refrain from talking.
Yeah. And then his lawyer could have been like, he's pleading guilty or not guilty.
Correct. He tried to hire somebody, 2 inmates, to go and kill Robin Robeck. Which, see, again, that points to why I think that prosecutors will get that. They will always try to flip somebody. Because if you see she failed to identify them in a lineup, even though she identified their mug shots, and that still caused Robin Robeck's, that still caused her evidence to be thrown out because she couldn't point them out in a lineup. So you just want to guarantee that 100% guilty.
I would think some people's faces get kind of blurry when you got mace in your face.
Yeah, well, I mean, a picture doesn't necessarily translate very well to you currently, right? Because every picture is in the past. You know, if you see somebody's mugshot and then see them standing in front of you, they probably don't look exactly like their mugshot, you know? So I assume that's kind of an unfair thing. They should have just, like, never showed her the lineup, brought her into court, and then just brought the mugshots in again. And if she was just like, yeah, these two. You know, I get why they bring the lineup in, but that's where it has to be a sticky situation for the prosecution, right? Can they not sit down and be like, Your Honor, look at this guy's mugshot and then look at him right now? You know, was it super current? Like, see, I'm not a lawyer, so that's like weird questions that I would have for like a prosecution team. Was the mugshot current? Was it like 6 months before the lineup? Because if not, what features look different?
Well, let's say they didn't have a photo of the mugshot and they just had like an artist rendering. Like, that's the other thing. You can use a rendering to identify a suspect, but then you still got to do the lineup, and you get similar looking people in the lineup and be like, okay, now exactly which one of these people that match this artist sketch is the one.
Yeah, it's like stacked against you, right? They go get people that look similar. You know what I mean? It's like you go get a bunch of similar looking guys and then put them in front of them. So it's just weird to ask. It's just weird to go over, right? Because like I said, I can take a picture of me from 6 months ago and then stand beside it. And if you don't personally know me, you might mistake me out of a lineup.
Yeah, that's true. I could fuck people all up, dude, from how much my appearance always changes.
Yeah, just cut your fucking hair. And
cut my hair, shave my face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Put my glasses on.
How recent was the mugshot? That's where I wish we had. Like,
that's a good question.
Gosh, dude, I hope we have like a lawyer that eventually listens to this episode. I don't care if it's like, this episode is 12 years old, man. If you're a lawyer, message in, like, answer that for me. I'm just genuinely curious.
Well, nowadays they'll just pull your picture off your Facebook.
That's what I'm saying.
Picture of you.
But at least that's newer, right? In some cases. But, you know, in that point in time, you know, they had to have grabbed a mugshot of Bittaker and Norris that was probably north of a year old. And so how does that hold up to them currently at their age?
You also got to look at, and I don't know if it's just Hollywood or how accurate this is, but you look at My Cousin Vinny. You look at that scene in Better Call Saul. They all speculate or point to the fact that witness testimony is pretty shit, actually. People forget shit all the time. Unless you have a photographic memory, how trustworthy is your testimony? You could be 100% be like, I'm being honest. You could just be wrong. You could be being as honest as you want to be, but you could just be wrong at the same time.
Well, yeah, and you also have a defense team that's sitting there that is literally trained to walk you into self-doubt. You know what I mean? Or to walk your story around to where.
So I also think, you know, the lineup is kind of important.
I get that it's important, but like I said, I find it super weird. Like, you could take a mugshot, identify that, and go, that is definitely them, but then bring them in. You know, her rape wasn't that day. You know, she was trying to identify people that were years later. Maybe upon their mugshot, they were easily identifiable at that point in time as the ones that raped her, and then a year later, they grow a beard or shave their beard. I mean, how many times have we seen videos of guys who are like, shaving my beard for the first time to get my kids' reactions, and they shave their beard, and holy shit, yeah, their kid hates them, but they're a different person. You know what I mean? You would not identify them without a beard. If I shaved my beard right now, it would throw people the fuck off.
No, that's not stranger danger. That's daddy.
Yeah, nobody at work has ever seen me without a beard. If I shaved my beard and went into work, they would be like, what in the fuck? But I wouldn't look like my picture.
That's what I'm experiencing now. And
yeah, with shaving your beard.
Yeah, nobody recognizes it. Everybody hates it. I hate it.
But that's what I'm saying. If we took a picture of you with your beard, and then you now without your beard, and we went and showed somebody you with your beard, right? And then walked you into a bar with them a month later with no beard, and then we're like, have you ever seen this guy before? They're probably going to be like, no, I've never seen him before. And then you hold up the picture with a beard, and they're probably going to be like, oh, that guy. You know what I'm saying? That's where I just don't understand how a lineup causes you. How does a lineup get it thrown out?
I can see the perspective of the lineup that you're coming at it with.
Yeah.
I get it now.
Yeah, like they're showing them a picture that's so long ago, and then they're bringing them in now, and then that causes it to be thrown out. How is the prosecution not able to argue that and be like, Your Honor, the mugshot was from 2 years prior, and then the lineup, Bittaker, definitely doesn't look like it. He's put on 10 pounds, or he's lost 10 pounds, or he shaved his beard, or he grew a beard, or, his hair's this style, or it's not that style. Like, I feel like just throwing it out that's a little dramatic. I feel like the prosecution should be able to argue that. So, I don't know. It's, again,
perhaps
questions I wish I could ask a lawyer. Maybe at some point in time, dude, I'll reach out, because we do have some pretty nice lawyers around here. I've talked to a few of them, and, actually, we have a family friend that's a government attorney. We do. I'm actually going to see if I can reach out to her, not name dropping, but I'm going to see if I can reach out to her and ask if she's aware of that. I know she doesn't deal specifically in like murder trials or anything, but I would assume going, passing the bar and stuff, she probably will be more knowledgeable to answer that question. But I want to see if I can reach out to her and ask her, like, hey, why would a prosecution not be able to argue that if a mugshot was, way prior? Or do they argue that? Maybe they do, and I just, they never put it in the case for me to find notes on.
Yeah, perhaps. All right. Let's get into the trial. Bittaker's trial began on January 19th, 1981. He was tried in Torrance, California, before Judge Thomas Fredericks. The star witness to appear for the prosecution at the trial of Bittaker was Norris, who began his testimony on January 22nd. Norris testified as to how he became acquainted with Bittaker in jail, and how the pair had formulated a plan to kidnap, rape, and kill teenage girls. Responding to questions from the prosecutor, Norris stated that in June 1979, he had unsuccessfully attempted to abduct and rape a woman who escaped unharmed. When he informed Bittaker of this incident, they both agreed to act together on all future abductions. Norris then chronologically recounted for the court the details of each of the 5 murders he and Bittaker had committed, in addition to the September 30th, 1979 rape of Robeck, the attempted abduction of a woman named Jan Mullen, which had also occurred on September 30th, and the attempted abduction of an unidentified young woman on September 27th. In reference to the actual murders, Norris stated that after he had unsuccessfully attempted to strangle Schaefer, Bittaker had strangled her with a wire coat hanger. The pair had then thrown the body into a location at or near the San Dimas Canyon. In reference to the murder of Hall, Norris stated he had been told by Bittaker to drive to a nearby store to purchase alcohol when Hall was murdered, after which he returned to find Bittaker, smiling and holding Polaroid pictures he had taken of Hall after informing her he intended to kill her. With reference to victims Lamp and Gilliam, Norris stated that the 2 girls were held captive for over a day before being murdered, adding that Bittaker had killed Gilliam before he himself bludgeoned Lamp about the head as Bittaker strangled her. When discussing the abuse and torture of Ledford, Norris stated he had, upon the insistence of Bittaker, committed the actual murder of Ledford, adding Bittaker had informed him that I should kill her because I hadn't killed anyone yet. I knew this was coming, so I agreed. Norris then confessed to having killed Ledford by strangling her with a coat hanger, which he had tightened with pliers in much the same manner Bittaker had with previous victims Schaefer and Lamp. Norris then stated the pair had driven to Sunland, where he discarded Shirley Ledford's body upon the front lawn as Bittaker waited in the van. Several witnesses testified as to Bittaker having shown them pictures of the victims he had retained as keepsakes and which had been found in his motel. One witness, a 17-year-old neighbor of Bittaker's named Christina Drell, testified that Bittaker had shown her a Polaroid picture he had taken of Gilliam before stating, "The girls I get won't talk anymore." Drell also stated Bittaker had once played a cassette tape to her in which she heard two girls screaming and Bittaker laughing. Another witness to testify was Lloyd Douglas, who had shared a jail cell with Bittaker following his November 1979 arrest. Douglas testified that Bittaker had discussed in detail the torture he had inflicted on victims Gilliam and Ledford, stating Bittaker had informed him he had stabbed one of Gilliam's breasts with an ice pick, which he then twisted as the tool remained inserted in the wound. He had also pinched Gilliam on the legs and breasts with a vice grip before tearing off part of one nipple. Douglas also stated Bittaker had informed him he had pulled on the genitals and breasts of Shirley Ledford with the same instrument, and that he had attempted to beat her breasts back into her chest. The defense contended that Norris was the actual perpetrator of the murders, and that Bittaker had only become aware of Norris's activities shortly before his arrest, when Norris had informed him he had murdered several girls whom they had both previously encountered and sexually assaulted. To support their case, the defense produced a friend of Norris named Richard Shootman, who testified that Norris had repeatedly divulged to him his desire to rape young girls. Shootman had also testified that Norris had informed him that the look of shock and fear on the face of a young girl was a prime sexual stimulus for him. In support of Bittaker's case, the defense also referenced the Polaroid images taken of the facial expressions of Hall and of Bittaker's statements regarding Norris's revelations to Bittaker regarding his prime sexual stimulations while both were incarcerated at California Men's Colony in 1977.
Yeah, see, there's the defense at work, man. Immediately just being like, look at these Polaroid pictures.
It wasn't Bittaker, it was Norris.
Yep, Norris did all the murders, and point in case is his prime sexual need for shock and for them to, have fear in their eyes, and look at the Polaroid pictures. That's how these girls were, so it had to have been Norris. That's what I'm saying, man. You got to build that case and make sure it's like 100% conviction rate. I couldn't imagine being on this jury. That had to
It
suck.
sounds pretty easy. I mean, I'm sure it would have sucked. It's probably traumatizing being on the jury of it because, they saw so much stuff that we just hear about.
I think the decision was pretty easy there, but you also have to sit there the entire time and you have to look at all the evidence, even if you've already made your decision.
Yep. All those Polaroid pictures, they were put on TVs. All the tapes were played multiple times. I couldn't fucking imagine it, man. That's why when I got called in, dude, I immediately was getting out of jury duty. I'm just not built for that shit. I'm not able to render a correct decision.
To be clear, the jury duty that he got, it wasn't like some civil corporate crime thing or whatever.
We didn't know, though. That's the point of jury duty. You don't know what you're going in for until the day you sit down in front of them and they say, this is what we're going to go over, and then they start selecting a jury. So that's why
you also know that there's a really high-profile murder case in the area at the exact time that you were selected to come in for jury duty.
I wasn't on it, so we could say it. Chad Doerman? Is that how you say his last name, David? Doerman? Chad Doerman. Yeah, he shot his 3 kids in the head and killed them. And they were selecting the jury the same time that I got called in for jury duty. And I was like, man, I can't do this. Like, I'm a father. If this is the case and I go in there and I'm not prepped with a letter and, reasonable, a reason to get out of it, and I get put on this, there's no fucking way. There's no way I could do it. Guilty. That was my backup plan, is if they were like, no, the letter isn't good enough, and they were like, this is the Chad Doerman case, and you're going to have to...
I've seen the body cam footage. He's guilty.
Exactly. That's what I was going to do, man. I was going to be like, this dude's guilty. You should take him out back and shoot him, dude. Put him down. Why are we here? Yep. I was not going to be put on that case, period. And luckily, that wasn't what it was. It was pertaining to a different issue, which I'm not going to say because I don't know the legal ramifications on that, but it wasn't that. I mean, it was still
Probably something boring like tax fraud.
It's like a rapid fire situation. It was over like 3 months, right? And it was a week out of each month, and you were going to go over like 100 things and render like guilty or not guilty, and then it would go to a then selected like bigger jury, right? So, and that didn't seem bad, but at the same time, what they did is they took like volunteers. So there was like I want to say like 35 of us that were called in, and then they set us all in a courtroom, and the judge was actually fucking hilarious, which is, I've had good experiences with meeting judges and police officers in Butler County. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, Middletown cops suck, or, Butler County and Hamilton, or they suck, or whatever. But I've had good experiences meeting police officers here, and I've had good experiences meeting judges here,
Which is weird, because you did some not kosher things when you were younger.
Yes, I've had legal troubles.
Yes, tell us about your crimes.
No.
Tell the world about your crime. I know. I'll tell you guys. Now, this one time.
We won't. So,
he's going to cut it out.
Yeah, I'll cut that out, dude. But
his work lessons, these.
I don't care if my work. It was prior to 18 years old. I reformed my ways upon having a child. But I'm just saying, even at that point in time when I was a kid, other than like 2 cops, I can think of 2 cops that were really not kosher, and I won't put them on blast for reasons unsaid. But
I will.
Yeah, let's not. I don't know the legal ramifications of that either. But other than that, I've had great experiences with like judges and police officers around here, man. Like one of my favorite people in the city of Middletown was Officer Davis. Do you remember Officer Davis?
Yeah, I remember Officer Davis.
Yeah, probably the nicest human being, one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. But the judge, when we went in there and he was like going over everything for jury duty, that dude was genuinely funny. He was like genuinely funny. He had everybody laughing the entire time because he was like, this isn't a serious instance. Like, yeah, I have to take things serious when I read these to you. You know what I mean? He was like, but other than that, he was like, we're just in here to pick some people. Let's have a good time. Let's make this entertaining. And he was genuinely fucking hilarious. So I had a good time in that. But then what they did is they took volunteers first before he was like, listen, here's how it's going to go. He was like, I think it was like 15 or whatever. He's like, I need 15 of you guys. And he was like, I'm going to take those who volunteer first. He was like, now, if we get to, 13 or 12 and nobody else wants to volunteer, he was like, that's when I'm going to pick. And he was like, just know if you're sitting there and you go, I want to do this, he was like, please raise your hand. And he was like, and then if you do not want to do this, do not raise your hand. And luckily, I think they got like 13. And then he was like, all right, guys, I need 2 more. I need 2 more out of this, or else I'm going to start individually interviewing you, and you're going to come up here to the podium, and I'm going to have to determine whether you need to be released or that you're going to be selected. But luckily, I had like a work letter and stuff because I do perform a critical role in cybersecurity at work, and I'm one of the only people that does do that. So my work wrote a note like, hey, if you remove him for a day, that's our cybersecurity team basically, like, please don't do that. So my HR wrote me a letter, but I didn't have to use it because of the fact that after he was like, hey, listen, I'm gonna select people, then 2 other people just put their hand up, and he was like, all right, everybody else have a good day. And he dismissed us. But yeah, Chad Doberman was going on at the same time, and there was absolutely no fucking way I was risking being put on that case. I did not want to go in there that day and be like, all right, this is for Chad Doberman, and we're picking jury, because fuck that guy super hard. Fuck him. I love that body cam footage, man. Have you ever seen that, CJ?
No.
We'll have to show you.
I don't watch.
It's not violent. There's nothing violent.
Footage or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, I can't risk it. Because who's the one who comes up to me, comes with that footage? 99% of the time, it's David.
Yeah. Well, that one.
David looks at some fucked up shit.
Sometimes that fucked up shit is hilarious, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are funny.
So this one, dude, we'll have to send to you because there's nothing in it, period, violent. It's just because it happened in Monroe, right? And so it's just the cops showing up. And then first of all, I can't remember the cop's name. I don't know if David does, but fucking props to that cop.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. That cop. Oh.
Props to that cop, because it was almost like a fucking Texas situation, right? They respond to it, and they know there were shots fired. It's like there's like a tree line before you get on the property, and the other cops are literally like huddled by this tree line, like, we need to wait on backup, and then we need to formulate a plan. And this cop's like, are you fucking kidding me? There's kids in danger. And he just like goes running around the tree line like a fucking hero, dude. He just starts moving like, get on my back, you know? And he fucking straight beelines for that apartment with his gun out, dude. And you see him just round the corner like, get on the ground. So it was just, it's like heroic, the fact that guy did not wait. He fucking responded, which is what you want out of a cop. And it is super hard to concentrate because he is masturbating a piece of paper over there.
No, I'm not.
He 100% was.
Is he trying to jizz on me? Bro,
He was.
stop that.
He was making the words cue. But he like rounds the house, gets him on the ground. But then Chad wants to like talk all the way to the car. He's like, I don't know why I did it, or, you know, I shot my 3 kids. I did this. And that cop's like, you have the right to remain silent. Remain silent. And then, like, he, you know, they take another 4 or 5 steps, and he starts talking, and that cop's like, dude, you have the right to remain silent. I suggest you remain silent. And then they take another few steps, and he starts talking again. This cop's like, bro, you have the right to remain silent, and I don't want to fucking hear you. Shut your fucking mouth. He was like, I have no interest in hearing any of this. He was like, use the right to remain silent and shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, he was pissed. And then he just, like, shuts him in the car, and Chad goes to say something, and he's just like, what? Dude just slams it, like...
Yeah, he's like, I got my wallet in my pocket.
Yeah.
This and that. And the cop's like, fucking, he just throws him in the car and slams the door.
Yeah, he's like, I don't...
Just shut the fuck up, Chad.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. He's like, just shut the fuck up, bro. He's like, I don't want to hear you. He tried to tell him nicely, like, 3 times. He's like, you have the right to remain silent. Remain silent. And then by the time they're getting to the car, he's like, just shut the fuck up, dude. Shut up. But yeah, I mean, I didn't read the verdict. Did they sentence him the other day?
I don't know. I haven't been able to keep up with that.
I thought they fucking sentenced him. Yeah, they sentenced him. He just got life.
Life, and hopefully somebody fucking kills him.
With no chance of parole?
Yeah, I'm going to assume there's no chance of parole. I didn't read the whole article because I hate reading that shit. I seen a video clip they put out the other day, and it was like his wife, like, Chad, I miss our 3 boys so much. And he's just like crying in the courtroom. And I'm just like, I wish at that point in time we just had somebody that sat beside you to just punch you in the face. Like, you don't get to sit there and cry. You did this. You know, they just need a guy that sits there and his whole job is like, Chad, I miss our 3 kids. Boo hoo hoo. And you just punch him right in the jaw. And then when he looks at you, just be like, stop crying. You did this. Now listen to her when she explains to you how you fucked her entire life up. I think she got out of there with her daughter, right? Because they had 3 boys and a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she grabbed her daughter and just ran. Because
her daughter ran with one of the boys, and then Chad ripped the boy out of her arms, and she continued running down to the fire department.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. I knew that the mom got away and the daughter got away.
Well, I don't think she got away. She was trying to sit there and fight him off, and I think she got her finger blown off because she tried to put her thumb over the barrel of the gun.
I think she eventually ran, though, if I remember right. Because I remember being, like, pissed, like, you should have died right there in the room with the boys. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, and I know that's a hot take on it, but, I mean, if you're a parent, if I walked in and the mother of my children, which would never happen.
Well, I'm pretty sure she was trying to shield them and cover them and take the rifle from them and fight the rifle from them and everything.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, like, she tried to fight for the weapon, then she got shot, then she fled after she was shot. And it was like, because I know I was upset at some point in time, like, man, you should have, even after being shot, you should have continued to fight.
You got to look at, it takes and not everybody has it, the amount of willpower to, because look at animals. There are animals that'll, if, you know, this animal's going to die, they'll eat their young to keep on surviving.
Yeah.
So, and it might not be a human instinct anymore, but there's like base coded in our DNA where at a certain point,
Self-preservation kicks in.
Self-preservation, and you have to have incredible willpower
to override it.
She was trying to, and then something triggered, and she could no longer. She ran out of willpower to keep doing it.
Yeah, I know there's a term. I remember reading a term for those who can override like that self-preservation in situations of danger. I like to think that there's a video that was 10 years ago now or something, where like a guy's walking in the woods and like a grizzly bear rounds the corner and he's got his kid with him and the grizzly bear charges, and luckily he doesn't die, right? Like the bear does, it swipes a few times, but like the dad literally like punches it and like kicks it. Like he charges at the bear when the bear charges at him, because he's like, I think he just goes like run to his son, and he just like runs at this fucking grizzly bear. I like to think I'm that type of dad, right? Like if I was out in the woods with my kid and a grizzly charged, I would just tell my kids to run, and I would just charge at the bear too. But luckily he got like, sometimes grizzlies can be stunned, like what the fuck just happened? You know what I mean? That was kind of the reaction of the bear. He like runs at it and like throws a fucking right hook on the bear's head, and the bear swipes him, so he does get like bloodied up pretty bad, but he like punches the bear in the head and then like kicks at it, and the bear just kind of turns around like, all right, this shit ain't even worth it, man. And
well,
it just kind of walks off.
Some animals are all like, I'm big and scary, and there's like, oh wait, is this guy bigger and scarier than me?
Yeah, I wonder if they can sense that too. Like they sense inside that dad was probably like, I'm gonna fucking die, but I'm gonna maul something on this bear. You know what I mean? I'm gonna pull its eyeball out or something. That bear was just like, yeah, this ain't worth it today. I didn't sign up for this shit.
That's also that's the whole backed into a corner mentality.
Yeah.
Like if he runs, his kid dies, so he's backed into a corner there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but yeah, there's some conflicting, stuff in there. It takes a lot of willpower to overcome your own self-preservation.
Because we can all agree
for somebody else.
Who's the biggest badass of like the past 10 years we've seen in the news? David might remember this one, but the fucking cougar, the guy versus the cougar. It was a cougar, right? The fucking jogger. The dude was jogging down the path, and a fucking full-blown, like they said, it was not even a mid-sized cougar. Like this was a aggressively large cougar. Just like jumps out and surprise attacks him, and they roll down the hill, and this dude fights the cougar, but not only fights the cougar, but he manages to get it in a headlock, and while it's clawing and biting him, he chokes it to fucking death.
Yeah, I remember that because I think that got popular because I think the national park or whatever he was hiking in tried to press charges on him for animal cruelty for killing the cougar.
Yeah.
Literally, the man was ambushed by a fucking wildcat and fighting for his fucking life.
I'm sorry, dude. You get a cougar in a headlock after it attacked you, you don't let go.
Mm-mm.
You're on the ground. You let go. Which one's bouncing back on its feet, prepped to kill again?
Fuck you up,
exactly.
Dude. You get in a headlock. Probably the luckiest thing you could do is get a cougar in a headlock in a fight.
But I remember him like literally talking about it because there's an interview with him. And he talks about how, like, he finally got his arms around its neck. And he said, like, soon as he compressed, he just, like, literally locked his legs around the cougar. So he had it in the most legit rear naked choke ever. And then he just squeezed. And even though it was biting and still clawing him, he just choked it to death.
If I was in his situation, I would definitely go to jail because I would be in contempt of court. Because if they tried to, prosecute me, I'd be like, the judge would be right. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to kill the cougar.
I was going to die. I don't give a fuck what you say.
With today's age, I hate putting it that way.
Wildcat?
There's going to be somebody out there with a sign, Cougar Lives Matter.
Nah, dude, I'd go to court wearing that thing's fucking pelt.
Yeah.
Your Honor?
The head's on your head like a fucking...
Eating cougar jerky?
Yeah, but that dude's badass, bro. I remember fucking reading that. There's some scary-ass videos of cougars out there. That fucking video became popular after that, where that fucking dude was walking down the trail, and that cougar comes out, and he has to walk backwards all the way up the trail.
I seen one on Reddit just the other day. That family, there was like a family walking, and one had like a little kid, probably like 6 or 7, and then they just accidentally, they're just walking down a trail, and they're like, oh God, look at that. And there's just a jungle cat just prowled down in the bush, just looking at them like, humans.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
How odd to see you here. And it's like, you can tell, like, is this thing spooked? Or is this thing thinking about eating the little one?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's when you pick your kid up and get the fuck out
That's
of
when
there.
you pick your kid up and you throw it right at the wildcat and you say, fucking, kill it, son, just like a fucking, just like the Romans used to do, man.
If you kill,
You've seen 300?
If you kill this cougar, I'll take you to your first titty bar.
Take that thing out, we'll turn its tooth into a necklace for you. And
Jesus, man.
we'll have a fun story to tell everybody.
If only there was a
I'll
cougar.
go get help.
If only there was a cougar on the mountain that Bittaker and Norris went to.
Yeah, let's see him try to rape a cougar.
I want to see a cougar.
That would be justice. That'd be just right there. Lock him in a van with a fucking jungle cat, dude.
But
I
want to see the
Not
good
a cheetah.
cougar on
Hold
the
on.
mountain.
What's the... Oh, it's not a cheetah. It's also spotted.
Leopard.
Leopard. Yeah,
Yeah.
put it in there with a leopard. I heard those are the most dangerous jungle cats.
Leopards?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
dude, they could dive and they fucking dive in the Amazon River and pull crocodiles out for breakfast.
Anyway, let's get back to the toolbox killers. Let's go over the closing arguments. Bittaker's trial lasted for over 3 weeks. On February 9th, 1981, the prosecution and defense counsels began their closing arguments. In the closing argument delivered by the prosecution, Kay apologized to the jury that he was only asking for the death penalty, adding that he wished the law permitted him to request the same suffering be inflicted upon Bittaker that he had inflicted upon his victims. Kay then described Bittaker as an excuse for a man, as he held aloft pictures of each of the 5 murdered girls before the jury. Seeking the death penalty for Bittaker, Kay referred to the case as one of the most shocking, brutal cases in the history of American crime, and added, "Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, a punishment of life imprisonment in prison would be a total, complete victory for him. If the death penalty is not appropriate for this case, when will it ever be?" In his own closing argument before the jury, Deputy District Attorney C. Randolph Ramsey discredited Bittaker's claims that, contrary to Norris's testimony, Shirley Lynette Ledford had agreed to scream, weep, and plead for mercy theatrically for the tape recording introduced as evidence, stating to the jury, "You've heard the sounds on this tape. Miss Ledford screaming, yelling, 'Don't touch me. No, 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 no.' That tape should be sufficient corroboration by itself." Defense attorney Albert Garber requested the jury discount the testimony of Norris, arguing in favor of Bittaker's claims that Norris had committed the actual murders, and claiming the testimony of the prosecutors throughout the trial amounted to little more than a bloodlust, adding that the prosecution had repeatedly recited the gory details of the murders. Garber harked to the earlier testimony of a psychologist named Michael Maloney, who had testified as to Bittaker's inability to empathize with other people's feelings and emotions, in addition to the fact that, with the exception of Bittaker's 1974 stabbing of Gary Louis, all of Bittaker's previous criminal convictions were for nonviolent offenses. The defense also claimed that insufficient corroborative evidence existed to convict Bittaker. On February 17, 1981, after deliberating for 3 days, the jury found Bittaker guilty of 5 counts of first-degree murder, 1 charge of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, 5 charges of kidnapping, 9 charges of rape, 2 charges of forcible oral copulation, 1 charge of sodomy, and 3 charges of unlawful possession of a firearm. Deliberations as to whether Bittaker should be sentenced to death or life without parole began February 19th. The jury deliberated for just 90 minutes before they returned with their verdict. Bittaker was sentenced to death for the 5 counts of first-degree murder upon which the prosecution had sought this penalty. He showed no emotion as the verdict was delivered, although he did stare at the jurors. Superior Court Judge Thomas Fredericks then ordered Bittaker to appear in court on March 24th for formal sentencing. On March 24th, in accordance with the jury verdict, Bittaker was formally sentenced to death. In the event that the sentence imposed was ever reverted to life imprisonment, Judge Thomas Fredericks imposed an alternative sentence of 199 years, 4 months imprisonment to take immediate effect.
Smart judge, though. That judge was like, man, if you ever overturn my death penalty, then he's getting 199 years.
I do like how his defense really tried to go for the But before all these rapes and murders of these 5 or 6 girls, he didn't really do anything aside from the time that he stabbed a guy.
It was all non-violent, except for one, minor stabbing.
He only stabbed one guy in the chest prior to this.
You rape and murder a few preteen girls, and what? All of a sudden, you're supposed to just be executed?
Yeah, you're all of a sudden a violent offender? Come on, man.
I would be laughing my ass off.
This guy was petting bunnies, and now all of a sudden, we're trying to say that he murdered 5 people? Come on now, use your common sense, people. Get the fuck out of here.
His defense lawyers really went for the I'm holding it for a friend defense.
Yeah, this ain't mine, officer. These Polaroids were Norris's Polaroids.
He's just a bad influence, I swear. He's a good kid.
That's not me in that Polaroid. That's Norris in a mask.
He fed homeless people one time. He bought a guy a burger. Don't you remember?
It's like as much as I talk about how prosecutors, I like prosecutors. Sometimes, man, I gotta question how defense attorneys go home and go to fucking bed at night.
That's those court-appointed lawyers, dude. They're soulless. They'll do anything for a $20 is $20 to them.
Not all of them are coin-appointed. You know what I mean? You can hire
not all
legit
coin-appointed.
Coin-appointed
or the non-court-appointed.
Not all.
Coin-appointed.
Coin-appointed.
If they're coin, you buy it with a Bitcoin, dude. That's a good lawyer.
Hey, there's our fucking blooper for the day. But not all of them are court-appointed. You can still hire people. You can hire professional defense attorney teams.
Yeah, those are coin-appointed.
How do you go home and go to fucking bed after that? How do you defend this guy? Now, I get it. There has to be some type of, disassociation going on, right? Like, they know that these people deserve a defense team.
David pulled money out of his wallet and was wiping his tears away with a $20 bill.
It's you know what though? That's probably about as close as it comes, dude. Just crying into. He's crying into probably $200 and
crying into my car payment is what I'm crying into.
Yeah, but I get you though. That's probably the truth. Those defense attorneys just go home and they made a shit ton of money. I mean, but at the end of the day, you still just had to sit there and argue for this. Now, what happens when you win?
Oh, fuck!
You know what I mean? Because there
monsters on the street.
There are cases of defense teams who win and get murderers out. How do you go home and you just sit there and stare at the fucking mirror and go, "I'm good"?
Well,
but oops.
Let's make a clarification here. There are defense attorneys who win and get alleged murders.
Get the fuck out of here.
Hello, Mr. Cochran.
If the glove don't fit, you must have quit. Fucking OJ killed those people. I don't give a shit. I'll put that opinion out there. We'll cover that case at some point in time. OJ did it. OJ did it. Okay?
The juice?
Did it.
You think the juice did it?
Bro, listen. All right.
According to a jury of his peers.
You want to know how easily you could take public opinion into that court and make those fucking lawyers look stupid as shit? Okay. If I go outside right now and I take a leather glove and I get it wet and then I let it dry overnight, then I bring it in the next day and I let it thaw, okay? What does leather do?
It's going to shrink.
It's going to shrink, okay? But now I'm going to take that leather glove and I'm going to tell you, I want you to put this on your fucking hand. Oh yeah, I don't want you to put any new evidence in the leather glove. Can you please wear this plastic glove and pull the leather glove down upon it? Get the fuck out of here. That's what got the man off. That he was wearing a plastic surgical glove trying to pull leather down above it. Okay? What do you think's going to happen there? It's going to try to tear the fucking plastic glove of the leather glove that shrank in fucking wet and cold temperatures and then was brought in and thawed. OJ murdered
he could get
his ex.
He could have gotten his hand in that glove. He just had to work it and stretch it back out.
And the man wrote a book. Here's how I would have murdered them had it been me. And it's the same fucking way. It's the same way. You know what he's going to do? He's going to be on his deathbed and he's going to be like, I murdered that bitch.
I did not kill Nicole and Ron.
Who, Juice? You think Juice is going to confess on his deathbed?
Kill no one.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, he is, dude. That dude loves the fame that came from that, okay? He wrote a book about it.
Who's going to tell him?
Oh, did OJ already die? Oh, yeah, OJ did die. OJ did die. Yeah, he did die.
He could still confess for those D&D fans out there. You know, if you get
that's how much I care about the guys. I totally, I do remember seeing he died, and I was just kind of like, you know, fuck him though. He murdered them 100%. He murdered them. I mean, you don't write a book about it and then tell me you didn't murder him. And Cochran can suck a big Cochran for his. He did his job. I don't care, but he still got a fucking murderer off.
Wasn't the illustration if I did it in real big words?
Yes.
And there was one little tiny word next to it?
Yeah. If I did it.
Like I did it was like
hold on, I'm about to
on
look
the
up
cover.
the cover.
It made it look like it said I did it by OJ, but then there was like fine print, like how I would have done it if I did it.
Here's how it is. So for those listening, if you haven't seen the OJ book, if is written in red letters, very tiny, inside the top of the eye.
I didn't even fucking see it until you pointed it out.
So the rest of the cover is a bloody footprint, and it basically looks like it just says, I did it, Confessions of the Killer. That's his book. And you're going to tell me that man, that is his confession. That is his, I'm still right. He confessed before he died because he wrote a fucking book about it. He wrote a book
about how he would have done it if he did it.
Yeah. And I'm sure he wasn't like, yo, guys, let's hide if in that eye at the top. And, you know, literally, it's like the rest of the fucking cover is written in like
it was 72. A confession of his innocence.
Yeah. It's like 72 in font for I did it. And it's like 6 in font for if. And it's stuck in the eye.
I did not see if until
I pointed it out.
It out.
I know.
I was looking for it.
That's what I'm saying, dude. OJ 100% did it. And that's where it comes back to, like I said. How as a defense attorney do you go home and sleep at night after that? There's no way I could. I don't have the morality to do it. I don't. If I won, I would immediately be like, shit. All right, Judge, Your Honor, I'm glad I won this case, but I can't watch this dude walk out of here. He did this. He did it. You can fire me. He did it. This guy is a murderer.
I mean, he'd be disbarred also.
That's what I'm saying. You can fire me. I'd be disbarred. I don't give a fuck. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, and you see it all the time. They depict it in movies, but it just happens in real life, right? You see like those prosecutors that basically tell the defense attorneys, like, how do you go home and fucking live with yourself? You know what I mean? Like, fuck that shit, dude. If you're a defense attorney and you get a murderer off, I imagine there has to be an immense amount of guilt. And then what if he kills again? Because there are cases of that where a defense attorney gets them off, they get out. Like, we'll have to cover one of it. I'm going to have to look up some specific cases where defense attorneys,
like, judges and lawyers accountable for things like that in some cases.
Do they?
I think
I need to look up a specific case.
I don't know, but so like if you murder somebody and you get off scot-free and then you murder someone else, they can't bring up that other murder.
No, they can't retry you for your previous murder.
Yeah,
that's the problem with OJ, is that once they gave him the not guilty, it doesn't matter if he writes a book and says, I did it, I did kill her, because he's already been found not guilty by a court of his peers. But there's all kinds of cases where people get away with it, dude, and they go back to, oh my God, who's the fucking guy that ate? Who's the guy, David, I know you've heard of that case. The fucking guy that was living in France, I want to believe. He's like a Chinese man. I think he was Chinese. He was like living in France, and he was going to college there, and he had one of his fellow student, female, come to his house on the assumption they were going to study together and have like pizza or something together, and he fucking killed and ate her. And then he got off of the murder. Oh, hold on, I had to look up his name.
Oh, did he get not extradited? That's not the word. Immunity.
Issei Sagawa, also known as Pang or the Kobe Cannibal. He was Japanese. Yeah, and he was in Paris. He was a Japanese man in
the
Paris.
Japanese guy, cause he's like out and alive, and people like interview him. He like goes walking down the street, and people are like, "Hey, it's that guy that ate that person." Didn't he eat multiple people?
No, he just ate her, but he is on record in an interview, and they asked him how he felt about it, and he said, I am going to eat somebody else before I die. He basically said, I'm going to eat somebody else, but he was in Paris, and he shot that girl in the back of the head, Then he cut her up, and he ate her, like quite a bit of her. And then when he was busted, he was found to be, I can't remember if he was found not guilty or not guilty by reason of insanity or something, but something happened to where Japan was able to basically get him extradited back to their country.
I think it's their laws. I think they don't have extradition, or they didn't in that case. The crime, he committed it outside of Japan, so it's not Japan's problem, I think is what happened.
For those listening, if we're getting stuff wrong, it's okay. We're going to cover the case, and then we'll have great details. Exactly, but
we could be wrong.
Anyway it goes, he gets sent back to Japan, and then I think they wanted him to be retried in Japan, and then Japan was just like, yeah, not our problem. And so now he was just freed. And I do believe his parents are loaded, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure they're rather loaded in Japan.
The other part about not being tried for a case you can't be charged for the same crime twice.
Or whatever it is. I think
that's just a United States thing. They might have that in other countries as well, but as far as I know, I'm not versed on other countries' laws. But that's a United States thing.
Yeah. I know there's cases of murder where they try you in one country, you're found not guilty, and because you committed something in another country, they send you to the next country. Yeah. And the next country prosecutes you and finds you guilty.
Yeah, I think that's what happened with the Japanese cannibal guy you were talking about. I think since they said, well, he already had his trial anyway.
Yeah, and then he was found not guilty in Japan or something.
The punishment was you sent him back, so
yeah,
here he is.
I think that's what. I think you're right. I think
so
he was found
he
not
doesn't ever
guilty.
Go to France again.
Yeah, I think he was found not guilty or something in
found guilty,
Paris.
But so they would extradite him back to the country. But they were well, we're not going to try him because it didn't happen here. So now he just can't leave.
But it's fucking crazy because he literally does interviews and talks about it, and
and he's just
openly
open about
admits that it was delicious. He enjoyed eating her, and he wants to do it again and hopes to be able to do it again before dying. And that's just a case where I can't stand that shit, man. That dude's a admitted killer, admitted cannibal, and wants to do it again, and he's still alive right now. I'm pretty sure Issei Sagawa hasn't died yet. I think he's still alive. So I'm gonna be curious, if he does kill and eat somebody before he dies.
Maybe he already has.
Probably. I wouldn't fucking doubt it, man. Because like I said, I think his parents are rather wealthy. So we'll get into the imprisonment and appeals.
Imprisonment and appeals, because they didn't sit with it very well. I guess, sometimes you get arrested and you don't want to be. Very relatable. Daniel, have you ever got arrested and wanted to be there?
No. 10 out of 10. There was never a time where I was arrested that I was like, phew, yeah, buddy, I want to be here right now.
Oh, well, because Bittaker appealed his conviction and the sentencing, citing procedural errors such as the validity of his warrants used to authorize the search of his van and the motel room, and the dismissal by the judge of a woman initially hired at the stage of jury selection to advise the defense counsel in matters relating to jury views upon the death penalty. Nonetheless, Bittaker's appeal was dismissed on June 22, 1989, with the court ruling that any procedural errors were minor and, in view of the strong evidence against Bittaker, did not affect the overall verdict. An initial execution date for Bittaker was set for December 29, 1989. Bittaker appealed this decision, although on June 11, 1990, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld the decision that he be executed. A renewed execution date was scheduled for July 23, 1991. Bittaker again appealed this decision of the U.S. Supreme Court that he be executed, and was granted a further stay of execution on July 9, 1991.
That's the part that I hate about the death penalty. That's what I really...
the procrastination.
Yeah.
Just get it over with, especially once you have this much evidence.
This is why I always go towards and lean towards that fault of just throw them in a hole, lock them away, and just forget that they're ever there. Is because of the fact that all we ever do with the death penalty is we cause the American people and everybody else paying taxes to just continue paying higher taxes, because they'll charge them with the death penalty, and then it won't be carried out for 27 fucking years.
It's expensive.
They
too
die.
expensive.
Most of them die on death row prior to being executed. The vast majority of people sentenced to death die of natural causes prior to being executed, because they sit there and they appeal and they appeal and they appeal, and because we have to have a due diligence in that process, they end up reviewing it or going over it, and either they're granted a stay, or because of them having to go over it again, it's pushed off another year or two, of which they turn around and they appeal it again.
So, what would you guys think about people can get multiple life sentences, right?
Correct.
What about multiple death sentences?
Where they have to appeal like 16 times?
No. So, let's say you kill one person, and somebody decides to give you the death penalty.
Put them in cardiac arrest for a few minutes.
Maybe it was, kind of an accident. You didn't actually mean to kill that person. Let's say it was manslaughter, what you did, but then you got convicted of first-degree murder instead. That's one death penalty. Okay, you can appeal that and stuff. But you kill 7 people, and you get convicted of 2 death penalties. You get walked out of the room and shot in the head.
Oh, like a tiered death penalty? Where it's like, okay,
you're bad enough. If there's no shadow of doubt, you're dead within 24 hours of that conviction.
Again, if you're going to sentence somebody to death, just get it over with. That's always been my opinion on it. It doesn't work. That's why I've never been in favor of it. It's because the death penalty doesn't work. It's a fucking stupid rigged process to where most of them end up getting a hold of some kind of attorney that gets it overturned and gets it changed into life imprisonment without parole. And then they go back to the Gen Pop section of the prison. And that's what you see in most cases. I feel like every case I read when I'm looking at serial killers or spree killers is that they get their fucking death sentence overturned and they get put in for life imprisonment without the chance of parole. I feel like if you look in the eyes of a victim's family and you say, we're sentencing this man to death, I can agree with that. I could go with it. So if it's like second-degree murder and they bump it down to manslaughter, okay, whatever, you get life imprisonment without the chance of parole. But if it's first-degree murder and it's multiple cases of it and you're convicted of it, yeah, I can agree. They sentence you to death, and then the next day you're just walked into a chamber, sat down, poked in the arm with a needle, and get the fuck out of here. Or they can choose to be shot in the head. I don't care.
I think the lethal injection, I think all of the death, I think we should just open up the Coliseum. That's what we should do with all these people.
Open up the Coliseum?
Open up the Coliseums.
Oh,
you want to kill people, dude? Go kill the killers.
Hats off to the man with the idea, George Carlin. I will never get over the fact that he said if you put public executions on TV and you make it a 24-hour access network TV station, he said millions of Americans will tune in, and guess what? You won't have no more fucking killers, because the first time you get on there and you go, this is the execution of such and such, and it's sponsored by Crisco, and then you just dip them in a vat of fucking oil, because he had all the examples like sponsored by Crisco, sponsored by this, launch them out of a cannon, put a piece of beef jerky in their ass and let them run across the fucking arena with the fucking tigers out or something, he comes up with all those ideas of just mass killing fucking people on death row on TV. You fucking show that shit, you would think twice as a killer, right? You're sitting at home like, dude, I'm going to go and I'm going to fucking commit, multiple murders. And then you turn on the TV and you're like, oh, there's that guy that I wanted to be like. He killed like 7 people last year. Oh, they're slowly dipping him in a vat of burning oil. Yeah, no, I don't think I'm going to kill those people anymore.
Oh, man, my execution is sponsored by Craftsman.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. So, but yeah, George Carlin had it, man. It is what it is, but Carlin's a genius for it, but.
Executioner. Bring the executioner back with the hood and the modulated voice. Say something nice about Crisco before we dump you in like he made your victims beg.
I liked chicken.
They're just reading like a sponsor. It's like an execution, like ISIS. They're like reading just fake ads. Get Crisco at Walmart for $1.99. It's on sale.
Makes me think of what's his face now. And they don't Korean. Bobby Lee.
Yeah.
So first we're going to get into this execution. We're going to talk of all of them. But first, Ridge Wallet. Boom. Get a fucking YouTube commercial about it.
That's what I'm saying.
Dude, we'll have Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast will be fucking hosting the executions.
Oh my God.
Today we got 100 death row inmates seeing who gets to live the longest.
If they can make it to where this Lamborghini doesn't get smashed, he might get life in prison instead of death.
And we're going to crush the survivor with a giant Mr. Beast chocolate bar.
I can agree with it, man. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't. Unless you're in Texas, and they'll fucking kill you. Texas will kill you. But even in Texas now, because it's been known as that state that will march you to the fucking death chamber, they have so many fucking victims advocate groups that literally take on, it is victim, they can apply to like a victims advocate group. It's for victims of wrong accusations. And they'll take up the case. I can't remember the names of them, but they'll take up the case and work for them to get them overturned to life imprisonment. And it works. They get a lot of them off. And it's bullshit. What the fuck was the point in saying that he was getting a death sentence anyway? What was even the point? There wasn't one. Other than to waste everybody's fucking time. And to march the victim's family out of there with the thought that they just got good justice and that man's going to be killed. And instead, they have to see 2 years later that he's going to get life in prison instead.
Very true. Bittaker granted several death row interviews following his 1981 conviction. He never expressed any remorse for his crimes, repeatedly stating the only remorse he felt had been for the fact that he and Norris were arrested, thus ruining his own life. He corresponded with numerous individuals, responding to letters he received with the nickname Pliers Bittaker in reference to one of the implements he and Norris used to torture and murder their victims. While incarcerated, Bittaker filed more than 40 frivolous lawsuits over issues as trivial as his being served a broken cookie and crushed sandwiches by the prison cafeteria, which he cited as examples of being subjected to cruel and unusual punishment. Bittaker was declared a vexatious litigant in 1993. As a result of this declaration, he was not allowed to file lawsuits without the express permission of an attorney or a judge. Despite the fact that Bittaker considered his life to have been a wasted one and claiming to wish he could go back and not do it, having hurt so many people. He also marveled that he and Norris had had little in common before their acquaintance at the California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo in 1977, before adding that they had one hell of a lot in common now. When asked in 2016 if he would consider writing to the victims' families, Bittaker claimed he was too ashamed to even try to beg for forgiveness. The sincerity of his expressions of remorse have been disputed by numerous professionals, who referenced Bittaker's consistent reveling in his notoriety and who noted the fact that he would tailor his outlook on his actions to one of regret to those whose attention he wished to maintain. Bittaker died while incarcerated on death row at San Quentin State Prison on December 13, 2019, at the age of 79. His death was reported as being due to natural causes. Norris was incarcerated at Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility. He died of natural causes at California Medical Facility on February 24, 2020, at the age of 72, having been transferred to this facility 1 week prior to his death. In the years following Norris's conviction, he had repeatedly claimed that the sole reason he participated in the murders was out of fear of Bittaker. Norris also claimed to have twice contemplated confessing to his and Bittaker's responsibility in the murders to the police. He also claimed to have deterred 3 potential victims from entering Bittaker's van. Although Norris readily admitted that he enjoyed the acts of rape with the victims, he claimed only Bittaker enjoyed the acts of torture and murder, stating, "I didn't enjoy killing. That was Lawrence. It was his favorite part, watching the women struggle to live, knowing he'd soon be taking their life away." Both investigators and psychologists have stated that Norris derived equally extreme gratification from the dominance, abuse, and torture inflicted upon the victims as Bittaker. These respective parties have also pointed to Norris's extensive history of physical and sexual violence against a woman prior to his meeting Bittaker, and his repeated instances of denial of culpability for his actions. Norris first became eligible for parole in 2009. However, he declined to attend a parole hearing, which automatically deferred his parole eligibility for another 10 years. He was denied parole again in 2019 and died still incarcerated early the following year. Prosecutor Stephen Kay reflected on the news of Bittaker's death via natural causes, stating, "I'm upset that he beat the system. He died a natural death, something that his victims didn't have a chance for. They had their whole lives ahead of them, and they never got to get married, have children, or grandchildren. Kay, who prosecuted Bittaker's trial, still considers the murders committed by Bittaker and Norris as being the worst criminal case he has ever prosecuted or encountered. He remained insistent in his belief that, prior to Bittaker's death via natural causes, he had been more deserving of being executed than any other inmate incarcerated on California's death row. In interviews, Kay has stated that for over 2 years following Bittaker's trial, his sleep was disturbed by recurring nightmares in which he would be rushing to Bittaker's van to prevent harm coming to the girls, but he would always get there too late. Paul Bynum, the chief investigator of the murders committed by Bittaker and Norris, committed suicide in December 1987 at the age of 39. In a 10-page suicide note, Bynum specifically referred to the murders committed by Bittaker and Norris as haunting him and of his fear they may be released from prison. The audio cassette Bittaker and Norris created of themselves raping and torturing Ledford remains in the possession of the FBI Academy. This recording is used to train and desensitize FBI agents to the raw reality of torture and murder.
Isn't that fucking mind-blowing? I wanted to say that fact the entire time that we were actually going over this pod. I wanted to just be like, wait, guys, until you realize that these tapes are so bad, the FBI uses them as a tool to desensitize FBI agents.
So, Bittaker and Norris actually killed 6 people.
Yeah, because one guy committed suicide because it was haunting him. Yeah, pretty much. And just think about that. Think about how bad these have to be for the FBI to this day, because it's still used to this day. Every bit of information I could find when looking this up says the FBI still currently, during their training process to help desensitize you from murders, uses the Norris and Bittaker tapes to help desensitize you. Think about how bad those have to be to listen to a girl beg and plead for her life, while she's being raped and tortured, and you have to listen to that. Point in case, though, to what we spoke about earlier. Bittaker died of old age, of natural causes.
Unfortunate.
And Stephen Kay was disappointed that he beat the system.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. Death sentences don't work. 90% of the time, they don't work. There's that 10% where somebody gets marched in on their date and executed. It seems like the more that they actually have evidence that you may be innocent, the more you're going to be executed. I hate putting that out there, but it's the truth. But hearing all the finality of the case, how do you guys feel about it? Let's just go one at a time. Just your closing thought overall on the Toolbox Killers.
I'm a little disappointed no one wrapped a wire hanger around their neck, tightened it with pliers, and smashed their heads open with pliers after smashing their elbows.
Isn't that the shittiest way to kill somebody? Put a wire hanger around their neck and then use pliers.
I don't know.
Just tighten it.
When you start thinking about the shittiest way to kill people, I think it just, once it hits like a certain limit, I think you just shouldn't kill people.
No, I agree. I'm just saying.
But it is kind of a fucking miserable way to go out.
It's like traumatizing.
It's not one I would choose.
If you think about being strangled versus like...
If I had to pick a way to be murdered, it certainly wouldn't be there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't like the ones that are purposely traumatizing. You know what I mean? Where they're torturing them. And putting a wire hanger around their neck is definitely torture. Okay, on top of giving your last opinion, since CJ kind of started this and people seem to like it, a lot of people liked us kind of rating what we thought. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the absolute grimiest of serial killers we've covered so far. Because we're not going to do out of everybody we know, just out of so far. You know what I mean? So, Edmund Kemper is our first serial killer we went over. Son of Sam is our second serial killer we went over. And now we have the Toolbox Killers and Bittaker and Norris. What would you rate them on like a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being the absolute, they are the worst we've covered yet.
Probably 10. That's probably 10. The worst we've covered. I mean, they're preying on small, petite, preteen girls.
It's the torture. Girls. Yeah, it's the torture.
And then torturing them to death and making them beg for their life and then strangling them to death.
Because I'm just curious if we kind of keep this up, if like we cover another serial killer, if we reach one where we're like, okay, Norris and Bittaker are reworked to like a fucking 6 and this guy's a 10. You know what I mean?
Well, if that's the case, going on where we're so far, I'd probably put Son of Sam at a 4. Right?
Yeah.
I'd probably put Kemper at a 6.
And you put these guys at...
I would put Bittaker at a 9 and Norris at a 10.
Okay, breaking them down individually. I can agree with that, too.
Because if Bittaker had never met Norris, I don't think Bittaker would have ever raped anybody. I'm sure he would have ended up murdering somebody, though.
Yeah, he's definitely a killer. He was a killer, for sure. But yeah, it is kind of... It is food for thought. Like, if he never met Norris, would he ever been as sadistic as he was? Probably not, right? And then when he got out, that was Bittaker, right? That immediately moved out and was like, became a machinist and was donating stuff, and he was kind of on track again until Norris was released and they re-linked up. I think that was Bittaker.
Yeah, he was starting to get on track, and then Norris was released.
Yeah, and then they re-linked up.
Norris is a fucking disease. All right, Norris should have gotten the fucking death penalty.
Yeah,
just the same.
So the way I think of the scale, I'm going to put Son of Sam as a 1. And the reason being is because he was, and again, I'm not saying he wasn't bad. I'm using that scale in the terms of he was almost like, I would think out of who's worse. You know, all murder is bad, but who is perpetrating it the worst? I mean, he just ran up and shot you. I mean, there was no torture involved. You know, there was that psychological degree because he was doing it randomly in New York. But I think that he just, he shot people and fled. So I'd put him at a 1, right? Because we're going to hit a lot of people, that are worse. And then I would put Kemper. I would put Kemper at like a 6. I agree with you on that. Because it's the after effect for me that is terrible with Kemper, right? Like, he genuinely kills the people. Like, I think the lower numbers are going to be people that I feel like, at least it's sad those people died. At least they died swiftly. At least they were swiftly.
They weren't traumatized.
Yeah, they weren't
murdered.
toyed with. The toying with people it pisses me off. I would say Kemper is like a 6, just because, yes, the majority of his he killed swiftly. Then he started strangling people. Yeah, I would put Kemper at like a 6. I would put Norris. I would flip flop yours. I would put Norris as the 8 or 9, and I would put Bittaker as the 10. Just because of the fact that, yes, he introduced rape and everything to him, but then, like, that real demonic side of their murders was really perpetrated by Bittaker and his push for it.
Yeah.
The ice picks to the ear and then breaking it off in her ear, like kicking it into her ear after it was already in there. I'd put him as he's probably one of the most, even for somebody like me who I'm trying not to associate it with further cases, but I've done a lot of digging and heard of a lot of cases. Bittaker is still a 10. I mean, he's a fucking piece of shit.
Well, I think Norris was the one who sat there fucking smashing the sledgehammer into her elbow 25 fucking times.
Yeah, but that was only because Bittaker told him he had to kill somebody finally. And so he, that's why he was in the back of the van and was trying to be as bad as possible. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to, like, lower him at all. He's a piece of shit. But Bittaker was definitely the one that pushed their torture forward. I think if Bittaker, like, that day would have been, because there were cases, right, like, early on in their first murder, I think if they would have raped him and Bittaker would have been like, no, let's knock this bitch the fuck out and drop her off 75 miles away from here, I think Norris would have been like, let's do that. I really feel like he was the follower and Bittaker was the leader, if that makes sense.
They should be punished just the same.
I feel like his ideas, I feel like he was like right below Bittaker, like, but I want to make sure that we rape them and do all this. And Bittaker was like, yeah, we can do that, man. But I feel like when it came to...
So you're saying Bittaker was the evil king, and instead of having like a good king and an evil advisor, it was an evil king with an evil fucking advisor?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. I think so. Because, I mean, Norris tried to strangle the first girl, right? After they decided to kill her, then he ran back to the van puking. And then Norris was like, don't worry about it, I got it. Just fucking...
Bittaker was.
Yeah. Yeah, he was the one that just put the coat hanger around her and, and like, you're at a cliff. Just fucking stab her in the head and throw her over the cliff. But he didn't. He took it into his own hands to start the torture. And then he ramped it up. So Bittaker's the worst, for sure, out of the two, but they're both equally should have just been shot in the head after they were found guilty. Or just, you know how you have rage rooms nowadays? just make a rage room and then tie their hands and feet together and just kick them in the middle of the family.
Disrespect your surroundings.
Yeah, just kick them in the middle of the victim's family. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And just go, guys, look, there's a plethora of tools around you. Here's Bittaker. You know what I mean?
Have fun.
Have at it. There's no cameras in here. Do whatever you want to do. Well, I think our next episode, for those listening, is going to be Black-Eyed Children.
Not to be confused with the Black-Eyed Peas.
I'm excited about Black-Eyed Children.
Never heard of them.
I'm a major... I would say paranormal stuff it's more entertaining to me than true crime, even though I like true crime. I like paranormal stuff more. I couldn't decide. That's why I went with both of them.
I would definitely say I'm more intrigued by
the paranormal
stuff than the crime stuff.
Yeah.
Just because with paranormal, there's a layer of fantasy.
Yeah.
And crimes is just horrible people doing horrible shit.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna make some fun true crime episodes for us, though. I don't want our true crime to stop at murder and, like, serial killers. So I do have some plans upon further episodes to get into stuff like...
some white-collar crimes?
Exactly, yes.
You want to do some bond forgeries?
Yeah, I want to get into, like, some forgeries, some casino robberies. Like, I want our true crime to be all of true crime. It doesn't have to specifically be murders and serial killers. So, you guys have any closing thoughts or anything, dude, before we say our goodbyes?
I appreciate you guys for listening.
Check out our website. Check out the merch. That's about it.
Our call to aim will always be, if you're listening right now, please rate, review, and leave a comment. That will help us grow the most naturally. We're going to start running a lot bigger ads and stuff across to try to build our viewership or our listenership, but rating, reviewing, and commenting is the best thing you can do to help us. Even beyond buying merch, rate, review, and comment.
We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to visit our website at paramurdercast.com for everything paramurder. There you can check out our merch store, where we release new designs all the time, so be sure to snag something awesome.
You can also find a donation link at the bottom of the episode information section on your favorite podcast platform. Every bit of support helps us make the show even better.
Until next time, stay curious and stay spooky.
We love you.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you join us again. Until then, may your nights be restless and your dreams haunted. And beware the things that go bump in the night.
So Bittaker's trial lasted for over 3 weeks. On February 9th, 1981. See, you're talking there, and if it comes and picks up in my mic,
it's going
he can't get rid of it.
Then don't let it in your mic. Just don't let it spill in there.
Defense attorney. Why did you join the army? For my country.